Hey guys, and welcome to Italian 1 Module 3. Alright, today we're going to be starting with bello, which means beautiful. Bello mirrors the way that we plotted out the. If you think back to the last module, the has a bunch of different forms that depend on the first letter of the word that follows it. Okay, so bello is really similar. Okay, this should look really familiar if you know your the chart. Okay, so let's go over the masculine forms first. We've got three of them: un bello, and un bel. Okay, the first one is for consonants, like un bel ragazzo. The second one is for words that start with Z or ST, like un bello zaino. Oh, sorry, un bello zio, un bello stadio. And the third is for vowels, like un bel amico. On the feminine side, we just have two, una bella and una bella. Okay, and this should look familiar as well. The first one is for everything, consonants, ST, Z, una ragazza, una bella zia, una bella strega. Okay, and then the next one is just for vowels, una bella amica. Okay. Next up, let's talk about adverbs. Now, adverbs are nice in Italian because they follow patterns. And if you don't remember, adverbs modify verbs, other adverbs, okay? In Italian, we have what we call the mente rule, which is starts with the feminine form of an adjective, okay? So we take the feminine form and then we just add mente, and that gives us an adverb. Okay, so for the word vero, true, we would turn it to the feminine form, vera, which you'll remember from the time when we talked about adjectives, okay? Vero is the masculine form and vera is the feminine form. And then we just add mente, veramente, which means truly, okay? Vero means true, vera is the feminine form of true, veramente means truly. All right, if you find an adjective that ends in E, like gentile, nice, just drop the E, okay? Gentilmente, nicely. All right, so let's go over some adverbs. Now, some of these are the mente rule, and some of them are not, okay? But the mente rule basically gives us something that ends in ly, okay? So as you can see from these new words on the right, most of the ly words, in fact, let's see, all of them, yep, all of them in English have a mente in Italian, okay? So just think about that to yourselves. Mente basically means ly. All right, so let's go over them in the right-hand column. Già, already, ancora, still, sempre, always, veramente, truly, fortunatamente, fortunately, dolcemente, sweetly, regolarmente, regularly, molto, very, poco, not very, and troppo. Okay? Next up, let's conjugate a verb. Okay, so this will be our first verb to conjugate, essere, which means to be. Now, in English, the verb to be is not necessarily straightforward. Okay, so let me conjugate the verb to be in English. I am, you are, he, she, one is, we are, y'all are, they are. Okay, so none of those say be. It's not I be, you be, he, she, it bees. Okay, it sounds different than the infinitive. In Italian, here it is, okay? It also sounds different than the infinitive, okay? So as you may notice, I've written the subject pronouns in parentheses. Io, I, tu, you, lui, lei, he, she, you formal, noi, we, voi, y'all, and loro, they, and y'all, plural, formal. That's because in Italian, these are understood. You don't have to say them. Okay, in English, we would say I am, and we would have to say I. In Italian, you don't have to say I. You can just say am, and they know what you're talking about. Okay, so let's conjugate these once through with the subject pronoun, and then once through without. And either way is fine. Io sono, tu sei, lui, lei è, noi siamo, voi siete, loro sono. Okay, that's a perfectly appropriate way. More often, you'll just see sono, sei, è, siamo, siete, sono. Next up, let's talk about our handy-dandy prepositions. Here they are, okay? These are so great for making longer sentences, okay? Here are the English translations. A, at to. And on that one, you'll notice that there are two English words for one Italian word. Those two English words, we've got two, but in Italian, there's only one. A, da, from, di, of, in, which means in, to, into, su, on or over, con, with, fra or tra, both mean between or among, and per, for. Next up, let's do questo and quello, okay? So questo and quello have agreement, just like all of the other things that we've been studying, okay? They've got to agree with the thing that follows them. Questo means this, and quello means that. Each has four forms. If you're just going to say this or that, this, which one do you want? I want this one. Which one do you want? I want that one. Okay, and the four forms, questo, questi, questa, queste, and quello, quelli, quella, quelle, are masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, feminine plural. Okay, see if you can write in your workbook which one is which. It should be very evident to you. The ones that end in O are masculine singular. The ones that end in I are masculine plural. The ones that end in A are feminine singular, and the ones that end in E are feminine plural. All right, but when a word follows questo or quello, we've got to change it to be appropriate for the letter that starts the word, okay? So here we have questo and quello acting with words that follow them. And these should look really familiar, okay? Everything follows the same sorts of patterns in Italian. When you've got an ST start word or a Z start word, like studente or studentessa, you have to have a vowel in front of the ST, like questo studente or questa studentessa. When you have a vowel starting the word, like esame or aula, exam or classroom, you have an ST apostrophe, okay? Too many vowels in a row would just sound weird, right? Quest'esame, quest'aula. All right, and then the last two are plurals, okay? Which remain the same. They're exactly what you think that they would be. Questi studenti, questi esami, queste studentesse, queste aule. Next up, let's do quello, okay? Quello is a lot like bello, okay? So here are all our forms. We've got quel ragazzo, that's a consonant. Quello zaino, that's a Z start word. Quel albergo, quei ragazzi, quegli zaini, quegli alberghi. And let's just go back and say what those words mean. So ragazzo is boy, zaino is backpack, albergo is hotel, ragazzi is boys or kids, might be a group of boys and girls, zaini is backpacks, and alberghi is hotels. Okay, did you see how that pattern is just like bello, where we have some words that ragazzo starts with a consonant, so it just has quel. Zaino starts with Z, so we need a vowel in front of it. Albergo starts with a vowel, so we need an apostrophe in front of it, and so on and so forth. On the right-hand side, we have quella chiesa, that church, quell'università, that university, quelle chiese, those churches, and quelle università. Okay, so basically, quella is for just about everything singular, feminine singular. Quel is for anything feminine singular that starts with a vowel. And then quelle is for everything feminine plural. All right, next up, let's see all of our numbers. All right, so our numbers in Italian, 1 through 10, just need to be memorized. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, Then from 11 to 19, these follow a little bit of a pattern, okay? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. All right, when we start, so basically 0 to 20, just memorize them, okay? They're all a little bit unique. There's a little bit of a pattern in between 10 and 20. When we start with 20, we get a really predictable pattern, okay? So look at 20 through 30, okay? Do you see how 20 has its own name, 20. But then when we go to 21, it is like 20 and 1, okay? 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 29, 30. All right, so if you memorize the tens, 20, 20, 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 70, 80, 80, 90, 90, then you can pretty much say everything in between if you know 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? It's a really predictable pattern, okay? And then 100 is 100. Let's do the colors. These are always fun. All right, white, yellow, orange, pink, red, light blue, dark blue, green, brown, gray, black. And you'll notice that some of these have a masculine and feminine form. Okay, so we'll just read them straight down and we'll say both the masculine and feminine forms. Bianco, bianca. Giallo, gialla. Arancione. Rosa. Rosso, rossa. Azzurro, azzurra. Blu. Verde, marrone, grigio, grigia, nero, nera. Next up, let's talk about time. All right, so in Italy, they use the 24-hour or military clock, okay? So you would never really say it's 4 o'clock to mean it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, okay? You would always say it's 16 o'clock. If you say it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, people will understand you, but more often than not, everything is on the 24-hour clock. Train schedules, movie times, all of that good stuff, okay? So the two ways to ask what time is it are che ore sono and che ora è. Okay, what hours are there and what hour is it? Oh, I forgot a question mark after that second one. Sorry about that. All right, so here's how you respond. If somebody says che ore sono, what time is it? You say sono le tre. It or they are the three. Okay. If you want to add a fraction of an hour behind that, you say sono le tre e and 20. Sono le tre e 20. Another way that you can tell the hour is by using subtractions, okay? So you go to the next hour up, the next hour later, and then you subtract the number of minutes until the time that it currently is. Now I know that seems confusing, but we do it in English. We say it's quarter till 11, and what you really mean is that it's 10:45, right? In Italian, they say it's 11 minus 15, okay? So we each do our own kind of math. It's really common though, so it bears memorizing. Okay, so let's do this one. Sono le 4 meno 20. They are the 4 minus 20, okay? So that would be 3:40. Sono le 4 meno 20. All right, below we have some things that you can add just for clarity, especially if you are an American coming over to Italy and you don't quite remember what 4 o'clock in the afternoon is in military time. You can add one of these to make sure that they understand you. And they are di mattina, in the morning, del pomeriggio, in the afternoon, and di sera, in the evening. All right, here are some special cases. Noon, midnight, and 1 o'clock, okay? Noon is e mezzogiorno. Midnight is e mezzanotte. And one is a little special. Normally we say sono le to mean time, but for 1 o'clock, since there's only one of them, we would have to say è l'una. It is the one. And on all of this, it seems a little confusing. Like, why would they say they are the three or it is the one? They're talking about the hours, okay? So basically they're saying, what hours are there? There are three, or there is one, okay? All right, below this we have a few other distinctions, un quarto and mezzo, okay? Un quarto just means a quarter, just like we say a quarter till 11 or a quarter past 2. And then mezzo means half. So half, obviously, is halfway around the clock, so that's the 30, okay? So if we say sono le 3:15, that's 3:15. If we say sono le 3:30, that's 3:30. Next up, let's talk about direct and indirect objects. All right, so in English, these may be really unclear. You may not actually know what they are in English. So let's go over what they are in English before we start them in Italian. All right, so here we have two columns, one with direct object pronouns and one with direct or indirect object pronouns. All right, direct objects are when the verb acts on the subject. So if I say Matt rakes the leaves, what does Matt rake? He rakes the leaves. The leaves are the direct object, okay? The verb rake acts directly on them. In the right-hand column, if Matt gives the book to Julia, who does he give the book to? He gives it to Julia. Okay, so give acts directly on book, okay? It acts indirectly on Julia because there's a pronoun in front of Julia, okay? We've got to go through the pronoun to get to Julia. Matt gives it to Julia. So indirect object pronouns often answer the question to, for, to whom, for whom, and from whom, okay? All right, so let's talk about the left-hand column again. Direct object pronouns. Okay, so here they are in Italian. Mi, ti, la, lo, la, ci, vi, li, le, li, le. Okay? Now this is a big chunk, and it's often really complicated for English speakers to do this concept in Italian. So don't feel overwhelmed. We're just seeing it for the first time, and then later in this year, we're going to review. Okay? All right, so let's do the example sentence below. Do il libro, lo do. Okay? Do means I give. Il libro means the book. Okay. So if we have this first sentence, do il libro, I give the book, and we want to say I give it. It is the direct object pronoun. It's replacing book. Okay? So look up on this chart of blue and orange words, this mi, ti, la, lo, la, ci, vi, li, le, li, le. Let's pick the right direct object pronoun. Okay, so il libro is singular and masculine. Okay? Really, we want it, in English, we would say I give it. Okay, but in Italian, it's masculine and singular. So we're going to pick lo because that's the word for it, but it's masculine singular. We have another word for it, la, which is feminine and singular. All right, so we'll pick the word lo. That will replace il libro. And then one more little trick. We put the direct object pronoun in front of the verb. So do is the verb. We're going to put lo in front of it. Lo do. Lo do means I give it. All right, so later in the year, you'll do lots of practice on replacing direct object pronouns with, replacing direct objects with direct object pronouns. All right, on the right-hand side, here are the indirect object pronouns, okay? Mi, ti, le, gli, le, ci, vi, loro, gli. All right, so let's do one example sentence there. Do il libro a lei. I give the book to her. Oops, sorry. See that little line right there? It's just dividing the two sentences. Okay, so that's not a letter. All right, so we want to turn this sentence, do il libro a lei, to le do il, we're going to turn it into le do il libro, okay? Let's talk about how we did that. Do il libro a lei means I give the book to her. We want to say I give her the book, okay? Or I give the book to her, okay? So lei is the word we need to replace, and that means her. So let's look up and pick the right indirect object pronoun. It's le, okay, L-E. All right, so we will put that indirect object pronoun in front of the verb. Le do il libro. All right, so this week you're going to memorize these. You're just going to memorize a block of direct object pronouns and a block of indirect object pronouns. And then later in the year, we're going to practice putting these in the right place in the sentence. Let's talk about interrogatives, and that's just a fancy word for questions, okay? So here are all of our question words, okay? Let's just go over them really quick. Che cosa? What? Che? What? Cosa? What? Chi? Who? Come? How? Dove? Where? Perché? Why? Quando? When? Quale? Quali? Which? Or which plural? Quanto? Quanta? Quanti? Quante? How much? Now on this last one, we have 4 different kinds of how much because we'll be asking how much of certain kinds of nouns, right? So if we say, how many girls? Quante ragazze? Okay, we need the feminine plural. If we say, how many boys? We'd say quanti ragazzi. Okay, Italians love to match. We have adjective agreement all over the place. All right, guys, so that is the end of Module 3. Lots of memorizing this week, and I will see you in Module 4.